belladonna. So I am about done for the day. I've done a good 2.5 hours out here today. So the basil and the parsley are still looking okay. There was still some Italian parsley left in that, so that's pretty good. Everything in that planter was dead, so I'll replant that with some flowers or something. Everything in that planter was dead. The lemongrass was still alive, so that's looking pretty good. I weeded the thyme, the oregano, the sage, the rosemary, so they are all now empty. I pruned off the tomato. If I'm lucky, I might get another month out of that tomato. Some of its roots are exposed, but I think that'll be fine. I found 2 cos lettuce in what was meant to be the footpath. Obviously the dog had dug them up and they had managed to survive in the footpath, so I've transplanted them. We'll see how they go. The lime, I've given it a good water. I'm missing about half of my river rocks, so I'll have to buy some more of those. And there was one seaside daisy, which was one of the plants that I had in those vertical planters, but I found that in what was the sage. So I have transplanted that, and we will just see how that goes. I still need to get the rocks to cover the drainage hose from the sink, and obviously it needs quite a bit of mulch, but the actual garden bed is looking pretty reasonable. I did pull out the couple of weeds in that orange tree and in the kumquat that's over there, and all of this, so that was one hole. I filled it with the weeds and a bit of the dirt from the path. There's still another massive hole under there that needs to be filled in. But I don't really care about the weeds in this section, because even if they do root themselves, the chickens will enjoy them when we get the chickens. My son came out and did a little bit of weeding for me over here, which is nice. But the rest of that still needs to be done. But that's a job for another day. So not bad for the first attempt. I went to Bunnings this morning and I bought some plants to put in these pots. And when I got home, I found out that my furry little helper had knocked all of them over. So these are self-watering pots that I made myself. What I've done, I've drilled a hole in the side, filled the bottom probably third with gravel. Then I've got a layer of shade cloth, and then the soil on top. So I've spent about an hour going through, pulling all of the dirt out of the gravel, putting the gravel back in and remaking them. And I've got about probably 3 or 4 inches left in the top that I am now shy of dirt because it's all in my garden bed. But I've got a bag of potting mix that I am going to repot. So I bought a couple of different mints. So I've got some spearmint, some chocolate mint, and a couple of thymes. So this one is lemon thyme, and this one is ordinary thyme. And I'm just going to pot those up. I also bought a sage and some chives, but I'm planning on putting those directly into the herb garden. And I will have to top water these for a few weeks while they get established. But after that, once I've got my reticulation working, these will just fill up the reservoir in the bottom, and they should basically maintain themselves as long as Goose doesn't knock them all over again. I do want to get an apple mint or maybe a cat mint or something like that for the last pot. I do like to keep my mints in a pot because they do tend to take over. The other thing that's happened since my last video is that my dad watched my video, and he said that he was willing to pay for someone to come and give me a hand with some of the heavier lifting and such in the veggie patch. So that is very sweet of him, and I do really appreciate that. So in the next video, or maybe 2 videos from now, you're going to be meeting Adam. And Adam is a landscaper, and he is my sister's boyfriend. And Dad is going to give him some money, and he's going to give me a couple of days in the garden helping me out with all of the things that I need to get done. So I do very much appreciate that assistance from my family. It will be very nice to have some herbs back in the garden again. We've been paying the astronomical cost that herbs are when you buy them from the supermarket the last 6 months. And I would much rather pay $5 for a start that I can come back to again and again, rather than $3.50 or so for some cut herbs that last about 2 days. I've also been thinking about making a little fence for just here. You might be able to see I've got a old black wrought iron piece of fencing that is left over from when my dogs prior to Goose were puppies, and I was trying to keep them out of my herb garden. That was probably back in 2008 or 2009. So it is quite rusted and not in great shape and a bit wonky. So I was thinking that maybe I could use some of that Merbo to make just a low fence to keep Goose out of my herb garden. But we'll see how I go with everything else. So my last pot, I will do maybe a third mint, or maybe I will do some oregano or something like that. But I am quite happy with the progress that I've made so far this week.